Since I know that we are connected to the World Wide Web, good morning and good afternoon for those who are in the other side of the world. We are today here in the beautiful residence of the South Africa ambassador for discussing a very, very exciting theme, which is digitalization in African agriculture. We were gathered by our friend and sister, the ambassador of South Africa. We have what we call French a parterre de roi, along with me, that I will be introducing shortly. But first and foremost, I would like to have our sister, Ambassador Jean, please address some words for this beautiful seminar that you have hosted at your premises. Thank you, Ambassador. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marco, and good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to the South African Embassy residence in Rome, which is a special city in Italy, and the house of, I would say, the capital for the administration of the Italian government. This being the 14th edition of the Festival della Diplomazia. Last year we hosted the 13th, and today is the start of the 14th edition, and all activities have started to ensue, and I understand running up to the 27th of October. So we said we should be the early birds this year and not wait until the end. On the theme of betting on the human factor in a machine world, one of the questions I was pondering, thinking about this theme, is that we should be appreciating that there is a role technology will continue to play in transforming food systems for us to meet our Sustainable Development Goals 2030, but also to deal with the challenges of hunger, especially in my continent of Africa, where I come from, which is one of the continents that is really grappling with feeding humans and making sure that there is a better life for all the people in the planet. And therefore, the key question is, with this theme on technological divide or innovation, what is going to be the role of changing food systems and enabling development in the context of this digital fourth industrial revolution or fifth industrial revolution. And I would like to hear more from the panelists, and all of us, we are going to learn from the panelists today what exactly is, are both the current practices and even the thought leadership in respect of dealing with innovation opportunities for food production systems. So, and we know that we have to feed more than, I'm told, 800 million people currently, but we will be talking billions in future, and therefore we need to also appreciate that there are challenges of climate change and variation of climate which impacts on food production, and therefore we need more predictability in terms of the amount of food that can be produced and be available for us as human beings. And the land, therefore, is also not expanding. So we also have to look at what is then the role of technological innovation in the context of limited arable land and also in the context of climate variation. And Marco, the moderator that just introduced me, is going to take us through this program today. And I just wanted to acknowledge our panelists, because these are the people that who are sitting this side, both just in mentioning the World Bank, Christopher, Nicola from the FAO, Koldireti, Camelo, Elizabeth from Eastern African Farmers Federation, and also Valerio from WFP, including our Director General from South Africa, Mr. Ramasodi. I do know that there is an apology for people who are still caught up in traffic, including Giorgio, who is the host, who will be joining us soon. So feel free. In my tradition, where I come from, we say kululi baji, so you should be taking off your jackets and be able to be attentive and enjoy being fed information that is going to be of use in respect of us feeding the nation for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. You mentioned something that is very important for us. It's our bread and butter, Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is not an aim, it's just a gate through which we have all to go through. We have to go through because this is the big goal through which we are passing for maintaining the attention on reducing poverty and reducing hunger people in the world. So thank you very much for those words. I know I'm not a speaker, but you know, I'm Italian and I like to speak. So you will apologize for that. So I will give a little introduction on what is my perception of digital skills in agriculture. Farmers have always innovated since ancient times. They are the blacksmith of innovation. Grafting, irrigation system, process and methodology were invented by farmers. Grafting was invented in the Ming dynasty by farmers. Irrigation system invented by Arabs before even the Ejira are still using in my country, in the southern area of my country, in Shaka, for irrigating oranges or citrus in general. So I think that farmers are at the very, very, very critical gates of innovation. Today, we are going to discuss about digitalization. And even on this, I think we have to give a little understanding of what this term, what this word means. Digitalization, we have to somehow demystify this concept. Digitalization is not something related to rocket science or to the last Matrix movie with Keanu Reeves. Digitalization is innovation at 360 degrees. And farmers are at the base of this. So when we talk about precise agriculture, drones for instance, when we talk about geolocalization, but even when we are talking about, you know, tools or strategies that facilitate the access to market for farmers, reduce barriers for farmers to accessing the market or accessing finance, which is always a big challenge. So as I mentioned, and as our sister, the ambassador of South Africa has mentioned, we have really a strong panel today that will analyze in detail all these aspects. We will have theoretical approaches and even practical approaches, which is more important, or is equally important, I would say. So I would like to ask my brother and colleague, Christopher Jan Brett from the World Bank, to take the floor and to introduce his approach to digitalization and more broadly innovation. Christopher, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. So much grateful for the invitation and welcome to everybody. I'm going to talk for 6 minutes. My conversation is normally 6 days. So you're going to have to go with me on this rush. I work in the World Bank. I sit in the agriculture and food global practice. A year ago, I was privileged to be transferred to Rome from Washington. So I'm heading the work that we're doing here. I'm liaising with my colleagues at FAO, with IFAD, and so on, as well as working on our portfolio. Today, our lending, and this is a lending to governments, we lend to governments, the public sector, is $28 billion of lending in terms of food systems, in terms of agricultural production, and so on. 45% of that portfolio, around 13 billion, is actually invested in smallholders and SMEs, small medium enterprise, the backbone of developing these food systems. And when I looked at the portfolio today before coming, when I analyze that portfolio, currently $1.4 billion of that portfolio is now being invested in new innovation, agricultural digitization, research and development. So that's one thing to think about, our portfolio. But on top of that, I think very interesting, I actually lead a trust fund. We have trust funds which are specific for programmatic activities, to focus on problems and solutions. I run a program called AgResults, agresults.org. This is a $155 million trust fund of finance which we received from the Gates Foundation and 5 governments, USAID, UK government, the Canadian government, the Australian government. There's always that one other one, isn't there? Anyway, so I'll come back to that one. So six big donors put the money together, and they actually put a question forward. And the question was, how do you get the private sector to invest in smallholders? How do you bring the smallholders to the markets? How do you put innovation? So we've run a series of prizes, challenges, where we fund and put prizes to the private sector on specific challenges or problems. So just one example, I've put a prize of $22 million to develop a brucellosis vaccine. Sorry, this is a bit crunchy. $20 million for a brucellosis vaccine for small ruminants, goats and sheep. This is a very important area. Brucellosis affects productivity. It affects humans. Women will get abortions from brucellosis from animals. So it's a huge problem. But the problem is large, but the market is small. And why did I say the market is small? Is that smallholders do not like to pay a lot of finance or a lot of money for vaccinations. So we're trying to get companies to launch all the research, all the development, and bring that brucellosis vaccine without cold chain to be delivered to the smallholder at an affordable price, $1.50 a shot. So there's the challenge. And the prize, of course, is to ensure, enable, and promote people to invest that. Without the prize, people aren't interested. They'll say that market has no interest. But to develop that vaccine, then the market is created. Just another example is that aflatoxin in maize, aflatoxin in peanuts, and so on in Africa is a huge problem across West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa. We developed a prize competition of looking at aflatoxin, a product you put in the soil to eliminate aflatoxin. So it's called AlphaSafe. That product, we invested, scaled, and put a $10 million prize to adopt that product within the maize value chain, particularly because aflatoxin was affecting children in Africa. And that product launched in Nigeria, and it became now registered in 10 other countries. So I'm talking about scale. And the last area I'll talk about is another trust fund I work on. It's called FOLAW, which is about food systems, land use restoration. It's a $300 million program. Sounds huge, but it's a 7-year program where it supports global knowledge and innovation, which I run, but we apply it to 27 countries, 11 in Africa, other countries in Asia, Latin America, but we focus on 8 commodities. And the purpose of that work is to reduce and eliminate deforestation, improve biodiversity, etc. So we have a huge problem, of course, of degraded lands, degraded landscapes, and this is affecting production. The ambassador is talking about all these people that need feeding. Well, the first thing we do is really look at land use restoration so we can prepare for that purpose. So I'll stop there because I'm sure I've talked enough. Happy to have questions. As I say, I'm based in Rome and happy to talk about other things. But that's just highlights. We do a lot of other stuff as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's always great to have people from World Bank in a panel because they have plenty of money to share, And I was very impressed by your agri-result project. Because I'm persuaded that this is a good combination of private and public sector collaboration for the benefit of smallholder. Now, the second person that I would like to invite to speak on this panel is Nicolas from FAO. It's the digital expert of FAO, so it's someone that will certainly introduce us on this huge ocean of innovation. Please, Nicolas.
Yeah, thanks, Marco. So, I'm Nicola. I lead the team on Digital Agriculture Unit in the Office of Innovation. I'll get back a bit more down to start with what is digital agriculture. It's not something wow, it's complex if you don't know it. But it's very simple if you really know how to do it. For all of us it's complex, for the global south it's complex. But I was terrified when I saw a farm in the global north, one single farm, 300 hectares, managed by one person, because it was fully digitalized. And that's why, for the south, still I'm also from the south, for us it's complex. To go back to the agri-food system transformation, the agenda, to play with, the politics of, what we are doing in FAL standard, is digital agriculture revolution, the food revolution. We had the first ancestors that started cultivating the land. Then we go to the green revolution, introducing the inputs, all these things. It's the same with digitalization. We see it, we use it, but we don't feel it. Why? How many of you are having social medias? How many of you are at phones? How many of you are farmers? And how many of you farmers are using social medias for agriculture? Only one? From one drop in the ocean. That's great. So, digital agriculture revolution is with us. In the 80s, in the States, they used the GPS, they put in the tractor, we started the precision agriculture concept. We started optimizing the production, we started optimizing the input, we started optimizing the revenue. After that, we invented more technologies, artificial intelligence, IoT, now they use blockchain. So basically, we are going to a smart farming. With the sensors, with the IoT, we connected the farmers. We are making smart farming approach, which is another approach, also like a precision agriculture. Then we started to generate a lot of data, data-driven agriculture. We have a 0011100011, it's a lot of ocean. And this is something that even nowadays, the core corporation businesses that are running, businesses like pesticides, fertilizers, they're moving toward their businesses to digitalization and because they know it is the new gold, the new oil. And we are having the digital farming, which is the latest concept of digitalization. It's where you have the data platforms, where basically on one platform you coordinate the entire, let's say, you have the in EU, through the CAP policy, you have the subsidies, farm registries, geospatial data, everything you put there, and one farm can, through the access to the platforms, can manage, as I said, 300 hectares, one person. But then we're coming back to the topic, Africa. Youth population, a lot of engagement in agriculture, but we are lagging behind. Because digital agriculture is not just to give a tool to the farmer. Digital agriculture is not just to give them the weapon, but you have to train them how to use that weapon to produce, how to shoot on the farm. That's why digital transformation, many stages. We need the basic condition to introduce. You need internet, you need electricity, you need infrastructure. We talk about all these fancy things, but what is the infrastructure? What is the connectivity? How many of the rural people are connected in Africa? How we can give them this access to the phones, to the latest technology. Another part, we have to focus and invest a lot to enable digital skills is the STEM, is the education. We start from the beginning. As in my country, we have a proverb. It's you can teach calf, you cannot teach bull. Yeah, calf, not the calf. From the youngest stage. Uptaking, you see how many of our kids, more of us are internationals. My kid will speak 3 languages on 3-year-old. I cannot manage to learn my 3rd language. I have no time. I'm bad. My son is telling me in Italian things that I don't know at 3 years, So these are the things we have to uptake. We start from the youthful population, we start with education in the schools, introduction, digital courses on digital agriculture. So this is the thing where you can equip them with digital skills. When they exit outside, and then go to the farm, already digital native. Another part which you're all missing, we spent less, here is the World Bank, I like it, research and development for innovation. We have to do research and development for innovation. Digital technologies, even though you have the skills, it will not work because have to be in a local content, in a local need. Digital technologies have to be available, accessible, affordable for the last mile. And the last part, besides investment, is also academia, research, coordination around innovation. We have to come up with regulations, governance, and infrastructure. We talk about artificial intelligence, all these fancy things, but then who lead them? Farmers produce a lot of data. They're called to the companies, they're making contracts, subscribing, all of us. How many of us are generating data from YouTube, from Instagram, from TikTok that you're posting all these videos? No. But where is your data going? Or how they are using your data? Also is the farmers. Companies are using their data, but the farmers are not generating income from the data. And then is also Kuwaitis. Who own the data? It's also part we have to discuss. And these are regulations and rules and law that we have to put in place if we want to enable digital agriculture in the field. So these are the things that we have to consider if we want to do get on the wave of the digital agriculture transformation, the agri-food revolution, and also to achieve the Agenda 30 or even go beyond 30, as you have 2062, 2050, a lot of visions, countries. My team, we are doing national digital agriculture strategies. We did in a couple of African countries. We have a lot of vision there up front. But then it's, how we achieve this vision are the skills. We should not force farmers, we should attract farmers. We should give them the basic. We should give them even how to switch on, how to switch off computers, how to create, and then how to social medias to promote. And after that, we go to those in the universities and the schools to use remote sensing, IoT, to develop solutions for local farmers down to the last mile with a low connectivity where everybody can have access to it. Digital skills are not something that you can learn today. Those are the processes that is taking time. Because you have to be pragmatic to have innovative learning processes. It's not just to have a nice slides, but also we do a virtual reality, extended reality, immersive reality, where we bring, let's say, farm 300 kilometers away to the farmer so he can immerse in a 3D and get the knowledge faster to the traditional e-learning systems and the videos or slides. So we have also to evolve in the methodology how we approach with the digital skills, and also how to uptake and to attract, because most of the older farmers, they're resistant to new technologies, to new practices, because also my grandfather, my father was a nice politician with his youth, and passion, wisdom and knowledge was given by my grandfather from my farm, so I have a farm. And he was always, when I was confronting with him, he was always saying, you're going to tell me how to plow the farm. I'm plowing this land for 40 years. No, I'm not accepting yours. And I want just some simple sensors on the plower that we can go level the level we are going deeply into the. No, he did not accept because he said, I know myself, land, you're going to don't tell me this. So these are the things we have to do and to change the mindset of the people and how to uptake the digital skill. And that's why we work a lot in FAO. We have a lot of programs, we are trying, we are forcing ahead, we try to fix the last mile, not just the farmers, but also the startups, the youth in the university. We are all around there and hope we'll achieve it. Thank you.
I like people from FAO because they make easy what sometimes is very complicated. Innovation for me, it's like sex at the time of adolescence. Everybody knows what it is, everybody says I'm fully practitioner, but he knows what it really is. Then we have good people like Nicola who indicates what is exactly innovation, how we can make it. No, thank you, because there are a lot of things that sometimes drive people to think that, well, you're just a farmer, you cannot really, this is complicated. No, because as I said at the beginning, farmers were at the beginning most of the innovating process and graduated in something more tangible that we are still using after a century or a millennium. Now, I would like to ask to our friends to take to introduce his subject. Now we are getting through the more practical area. We have learned from our colleagues from FAO and World Bank about FIO as an international organization. Next three speakers. Please have the floor.
Well, thank you, Marco. Thank you, all of you, for the invitation to this conference. Well, I have prepared a presentation about our company, Almaviva. If you don't know, Almaviva is, next slide, it's one of the biggest ICT company, Italian ICT company. Last year we have a turnover of 1 billion of more than 1 billion of euros. We started in Italy as an ICT company. This year is our 40th birthday. And now we expanded abroad. We have 76 offices all over the world, especially in Europe, South America, but we are expanding also in Africa. We have offices in Tunisia, Egypt, and last weeks we started a contract with the government of Tanzania and Zambia. So a group that is expanding in the world with idea of making technology easier for the final consumer, the final users, and the farmers are some of them. Since next slide, please. Almaviva is a large group that has different markets in which we provide our services, from digital health to culture, from industry to transportation, and agriculture is one of the most important. Since we, I would say, have started the process of digitalization of agriculture in Italy. We have been the main technological partner of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Italian National Paying Agency, AGEA, for the Common Agricultural Policy. So our mission was to make easier for the farmers to have the possibility to take funding from Europe, and in a way that should be technological. We have provided different innovation services in order to not only give the farmers the possibility to have funds for their activities, but also to the administration to create contacts with the farmers and make technology easier for them. These are some technical service we have provided. As Nicola said, we have a lot of data, too many data nowadays. We try to make these data to use with the synchronization process, for example, in Italy, but I think everywhere we have data coming from different data sources with different technologies, and we try to make a standard for them. We provide CRM activities for the user in order to make this digital divide to zero, in order to give access to technologies. And of course we use technology. We are expert in technology to assist and to, I would say, fight against frauds that unfortunately happen in agriculture, with the use of satellite images, with the use of blockchain. Next slide, please. This is a picture of how our skills in technologies can be applied to agricultures. For example, I would say blockchain solution, we have used it, implemented it in order to guarantee the quality, the traceability of the foods, in order also to involve all the actors of the supply chain in the process. We use water scarcity models based on artificial intelligence to the aim to predict the availability of water that it's changing because of the natural disaster, climate change, all the things that are hot topic nowadays. Next slide, please. Yeah, so our mission, our idea in agriculture is to create an ecosystem, the mixture information of data coming from different sources, but also from different actors, public and private, and provide one single point of access to the final users, both the farmers, but also the workers in the agricultural field. Next slide, please. And we do it with our competences, but also with our R&D process and our innovation lab, which means not only doing technology, but also teach technology to the user in the territory with demo lab, with partnership with the university, with the aim to make technology easier and also to make people and farmers understand that technology can have long-term benefits for them, because sometimes, many times, farmers or people who are not used to technology may be skeptical about it. For us it's easy, but we use our knowledge and experience to be hand in hand with them and teach them how to use it.
I'm a firm believer of the multiple P partnership, private, public, and producer partnership from the presentation of Valerio. Let's move to the next speaker, who is Valerio Trocoli from Coldiretti, which will allow us to understand how a farmer can benefit for new trends and new process in accessing the market. And I think Coldiretti
in our country. In the last 10 years, Coldiretti worked a lot in order to create the agriculture model of Italy. From the small-scale family farming to the large-scale farming in Italy, to the industrial sector, trying to put in the middle of the food chain the role of the farmers. We are a farmers' union, and we think that the place of the farmers into the food chain, it cannot be a marginalized position, but it must be at the middle of the food chain system. It is for this reason that Coldiretti also transformed itself in a social association that could involve all the Italian society around agriculture, from the industrial sector to the small-scale farmers. It's for this reason that Coldiretti created two other foundations. One is Filiera Italia, who represent the industrial Italian sector, from food production to mechanization through digitalization industry, and Fondazione Campagna Amica, that is the foundation who link the interests of farmers to the interests of consumers, in linking consumers and farmers in what we call the multifunctional agriculture. I heard very carefully to the distinguished panelists before me, and I agree with all the issues you said, the barriers to avoid in the rural area, the money we need. I would like to say that also coming from the last food system in July, we realized that
policymakers, international leaders, they know that the food system has to be changed. So there is a full opinion on that. There are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of programs. I think that there are also a lot of money on that. Maybe what we need today is action on the field. People who could put in action the decision and the money that the finances that are provided. And Coldiretti with Filiera Italia and with Campagna Amica, and I would like to thank Marco for mentioning also this newborn organization that is the World Farmers Market Coalition, is trying to go on the field and to work on the field with our projects. I think that the panelists before me already talked about the technologies that we can mention on the digitalization of the agriculture sector. So we can work on the digitalization in the mechanic sector, we can work on digitalization in geolocalization, we can if we can bring something on it, is that inside Filiera Italia we created technologies together with farmers. We did it together with farmers, and we are trying to transform also traineeship program in traineeship program from farmers to farmers. I think that it is important to have experts, technical experts, but I think that the transfer of knowledge from farmers to farmers, it is really crucial for the future also of a very important our neighbors, that is that is Africa. So we are working directly on it. We have some projects on the industrial production sector in Algeria, in Congo, in Ghana, where together with farmers in Italy, above all the largest farm in Italy, that is Bonifiche Ferrarese, together with the help of Eni, that is the largest oil industry in Italy, we are doing process on the industrial production in order to enhance and to make better quality products in the industrial sector. We are running some projects from farmers to farmers on irrigation, also in Egypt. We are working on digitalization in precision farming, also in Ghana and in other countries. We are working on a traineeship program with a school in Africa, provided with the support of Eni and Bonifiche Ferrarese, and we are trying to create a school in Italy for young farmers that could come to learn what is our knowledge in Italy and transfer it to Africa. And then finally, with this new idea, the World Farmers Market Coalition, we are trying to transfer something that maybe it is not too much technological. Also, there are some countries that are already working on technological farmers market. So, but we are trying to use the farmers market as a first tool to create a local food system. We think, Marco, that there is still a lot of barriers between the rural area and the urban area. And if we want to create a new food system in the world, we have to start to develop a local food system that can create a new linkage between the rural and the urban area, because if the rural area will be better in the future, the city will be better as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is certainly not easy to bring farmers from the field to the market, to the fork, I would say. And especially when you are a smallholder. I think that Coldiretti on this has innovated a lot, facilitated the access of farmer to market, but it also has directly or through this coalition that he has set up. I was for decade the Secretary General of the World Farmers Organization, which is an organization that Coldiretti supported strongly, and now I see this World Farmer Market Coalition following the same strategy. In generating support, it's a very generous action, and it also allows all of us to grow. So again, thank you very much for this contribution, and we are reaching almost the end of this session, and we maintain a diamond for the very end. Actually, when I met her, it was a raw diamond, but then slowly by slowly, she becoming shining and more shining, and I would need then an entire session to quote all her title. President of the National Uganda Farmer Association, President of the EAF, Eastern Farmer Association, President of the Pan-African Farmer Organization, and now also member of the board of the World Farmer Organization. A real from. Thanks, Elizabeth. The floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Marco, for that wonderful introduction. Let me start by appreciating Your Excellency, Ambassador, for this excellent opportunity for the farmers to be hosted at your residence and to speak to this very important delegation. So I want to see from the audience, if you had a meal today, 1 or 2 or 3 meals since morning, can I see you put your hands up? Your arm. Any meal from morning. So, everyone. So can we give a round of applause to myself and the farmers behind me? So that is what we mean by smallholder farmers, the farmers who make sure that we have life, who spend 6 days in a week, spend over 24 days in a month, and over 300 days in a year on the farms to make sure that you have nutritious and healthy diets. And we are here today discussing about food systems transformation. And I always tell people that as farmers, we have the solutions. Whatever challenges that you're talking about, we are the people with the solutions. You spoke about the indigenous knowledge, but we co-create. That knowledge has been running through generations after generations, and it's been passed on to the next generations. And it is this knowledge that we are now digitizing and innovating and bringing technologies. So today, I want to speak about our own innovation that we innovated as a solution to all the challenges across the agriculture value chain. Because we believe in addressing the challenges of the sector in a holistic manner. The challenges of the agriculture sector start from pre-production to the production, the service sector, and the output sector. Pre-production, the planning in itself. Planning, you cannot plan unless you have data. So you have to have data on farmers, how many farmers you have. Your Excellency, you spoke about the 800 millions that we have to feed. But also, when we talk about Africa, for example, import bill is over 40 billion. But do we really import this food? Is it necessary to import all this food when we have over 60% of arable land in Africa, where we have over 80% of our population employed in the agriculture sector, when we have the youngest population on this continent? I think we really need to understand. That's why I'm saying we need to understand the agriculture in a holistic way and then come up with targeted solutions and interventions. So to start with, once you understand the challenge, you have the data, then we go to production. The challenges of production are around access of good planting materials, access of certified fertilizer, and so forth. When we come to the service sector, money is a key issue. Access to financing is the biggest challenge for smallholder farmers, and especially women and youth. In most of our public development banks, you have to present collateral, and in most cases, it's a land title. But the women and youth in Africa don't own land, majority of them, so they don't have that collateral. So how do they access financing? You have to be very innovative. Insurance, our agriculture sector is so vulnerable. It's not cushioned at all. We don't have any safety nets. I want any country in Africa to stand up and defend that and say, we've cushioned our agriculture sector. It's not there. Then when it comes to extension services, some of our countries, in a country like Uganda where I come from, the ratio of extension to the farmer is 1 to over 1,500 households. So I think you can imagine what kind of extension the farmer receives. And in some other countries, it's worse. Then when it comes to the market, every day the farmer goes to plant, but without knowing where they are going to sell their produce. So the market dictates how much the farmer gets. And with the regional integration, nowadays, some of our farmers are even selling their crop when it is still flowering. They sell coffee when it is still flowering. We have buyers, for example, from my neighboring country, Kenya, who come in to buy maize when it is still fresh in the plantation. So how do we address that? When I was growing up, every home had a granary, a physical granary. But as we moved on, all these granaries have disappeared. And for those of you who come from Africa, I think you know this, and maybe in the rest parts of the world, every home had a physical granary. This granary was for food security. Before you could, consume the food, our grandparents had to put some food reserve in the granary to take us through the next season, but this disappeared. So our concept is, let's have a virtual granary. And that is e-granary that I'm going to speak about. Maybe you'll add me some 2 minutes. And this e-granary comes in to address all the challenges that I've spoke about. So we use this platform to first of all profile our farmers, know where they are, the size of their land, their age, and their information on production needs. So this information on production needs help us to understand how much certified seed they need, how much certified fertilizer they need. And to eliminate the middlemen and also the counterfeits on the market, we deal direct with the distributor because we aggregate their demand for inputs, we aggregate their demand for fertilizer, and then we do a bulk purchase. And because we are grouped into farmers associations and cooperatives, then this supplier is able to deliver the fertilizer and the seed up to the cooperative. And then we build an ecosystem of all the actors across the entire value chain. The financiers, the insurance companies, we bring them on board. We sit with the insurance company and we say, I have, for example, currently we have 250,000 farmers on our platform. And we say, I have, okay, approximately 150,000 farmers who would want insurance. So can we discuss a better insurance premium? And then because you've saved this insurance company the time to go to the field, to profile the farmers, to do all these assessments and everything, then they are able to sit down and talk. The same with the financing entity. Because I have data on my farmers for the last 3 years, then I'm able to tell the funder, this financial provider, that look, season A, my farmer was able to produce 10 bags of maize. And you can see the trajectory. There has been an increase every season. So after the 3 years, this same farmer, because he has been getting extension and certified seed and all the rest, their production has increased to 30 bags. So can I guarantee this farmer, and you give them finance? And that has been possible. And then in the extension, because we have information on our farmers, we have their mobile phones, we are able to give them both SMS and also voicemail extension. But also we have field officers in the field who are there to give physical extension. But also we have a call center, and a farmer can call in anytime, and we have agronomists there who can respond to the issues that they have in the field. Then it takes us to now the markets. With the markets, if I have data on my farmers, and I know I have 150 farmers who have grown maize this season, they've acquired certified seed, they have fertilizer, their gardens are insured, they have accessed financing, they have extension services, I'm able to project on how much this farmer is able to produce from 1 acre. And then I'm able to use that data to negotiate for a forward contract. And what does this forward contract mean? I come to the off-taker and I tell him, this season, I'm able to deliver to you 300 metric tons of maize. And this market, or the forward contractor is able to tell me that, okay, what do we need to have? I'm able to negotiate a floor price to say, this season, you have to give me 2,000 per kg. Then we agree on that floor price. I work backward with my farmers to make sure that we deliver. But the floor price has a minimum, but doesn't have a ceiling, because the ceiling is determined by the market. So it doesn't go below that price, the floor price, but it can go as up as to whatever price that is available on the market. We've worked with ETG, Export Trade Group, as our main market. They've been providing us also certified seed, certified fertilizer. We've worked with 1 Acre Fund in Kenya, for example. We've worked with insurance companies. We've worked with government because we have to register with the Uganda Communications Commission, with Kenyan government. And then we've also worked with, it has also helped us actually in terms of policies to be able to have, to kick out some of these fake products on the market. Then we've come up with some regulations and ordinances at the district level where some of our products are produced. So I think that is what I need to really share with you. I want to extend my appreciation to the World Bank. We received some seed funding under the Global Agricultural Food Security Program, the private window.
And then when we go down to Africa, this is even more complicated because of youth. Women cannot access finance, cannot access land, etc., etc. So I think your contribution has been critical today for understanding better what are the possibilities for us, but all this has to be robustly supported by an approach provided by, a financial institution. I'm very glad to have a World Bank here. I mean, you have to know that every time I travel around, I'm even confused by a World Bank staff or by a FAO staff. Nobody knows IFAD at all, despite the fact that we are the first financer or donor for agricultural issues. So I'm very glad that today, you were quote in the middle of this field. But definitely, you have the money, we have the talent. Let's put it that way. No, I'm kidding, Christopher. I'm kidding. Rome, it's a very complicated city, and the traffic is one of the biggest challenges that affect this city. And one of the victims of the Roman traffic was our distinguished guest, His Excellency Robert Moketsa Ramasodi, Director General of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development from South Africa. I'm very glad that you're making time to address some words, so I'll give you the floor, and then if you allow me, I will say a few words for concluding. Thank you very much. Your floor is yours.
Yes, you're facing the victim of the road traffic. left the FAO offices very late and just could make it in time for the session. Now, from a South African perspective, when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, there's a lot of hype. And let me start off in a true South African way about what I heard about the fourth industrial revolution. There was a person who went for interviews. He kept on bringing and giving the soundbite around the fourth industrial revolution. And ultimately, one of the panelists asked this question, because you keep on referring to the fourth industrial revolution. What was the first, second, and third? And it was curtains for the person. Now, I think the very same has got to go into the agricultural sphere to say, why are we going to 4.0? Where do we come from in terms of the sector itself? From agric revolution 1.0, where we had the hunter-gatherers, to the second, where we started off with domestication, seeds and everything, going into the green revolutions of the Asian times, to where we are today, where we use quite a lot of the digital space to grow agriculture and say, where can we grow? Now, my sister, in terms of the articulation, was already giving some of the examples from an African perspective. And it's quite exciting, because if we have got to use data, we are saying 70% of the wealth youth are in Africa. So basically, we've got a youth dividend that is in Africa. And we also have got large tracts of land in Africa. And how do you then utilize the digital space to deal with the African problem? Now, African agriculture is plagued, just like the world agriculture, by a lot of challenges. The geopolitical issues that you all face, that have disrupted the supply chains, both up and downstream. You have got diseases, you have got economic meltdown, you also have got climate change as part and parcel of what we are dealing with. So how do you bridge that divide, where you also have got a huge influence in terms of what the consumer is going to dictate what gets to happen in the space of the agric-climate interface or environment interface, if you wanted to call it that way. Now, we have got to think differently. What is that we can utilize within this space? And there's very little in terms of technology. Whether these days you talk about GMOs, you talk about genome editing, all of those technologies that come to the fore. You have got to think differently. You have got to think about systems that would be climate friendly, that would ensure that agriculture is resilient. And some of those, like climate smart agriculture, come to the fore. But you cannot do that without going digital on most of this. In an African space, then you have got another problem, because you would find that from a perspective of African agriculture, not so long ago, the average in terms of use of fertilizer was 8 kilos, right through the African space. I'm not talking about South Africa. We have agreed that we will move that to 50 kg on a hectare space. Now, in any given stage, you are going to have a problem in terms of productivity. Now you have got to change and see what else can you tweak in terms of the system. And the digital space affords us that kind of engagement through quite a lot of issues that I'll talk to later on. But I would like us to refocus ourselves on how can we move African agriculture forward using the current systems that we are having, the agricultural revolution 4.0, the digital space that we need for African agriculture to advance. The problem that we will have in Africa is the problem that Marco was talking about. Africa has got its own challenges. You have got early adopters of technology who will be quick to adopt new technology and run with it. You would have those who will adopt later on. But you also have got what in extension services are called laggards, people who will take very long in terms of adopting new technologies. And therefore, you need to find a sweet spot that would attract people to use new technologies, including the digital space, in the system. In South Africa, we have got 40,000 commercial farmers, quite easy to adopt. I mean, if you go to South Africa today, because of the issues around safety on farms, you have got at each and every corner a digital connection, cameras that are there that can take information, who's entering the space and doing anything. It's very important for agriculture. You go into a farm, you find that they are already using robotics, they are already using uninterrupted way of engagement with the systems that they are having. They are using drones. You can just be away from your farm and tell the irrigation scheme, calibrate it so that it irrigates when you are away. So at that space, you have got early adopters in terms of agriculture, but you have got another strata in terms of smallholder farmers. And that is where the most of Africa is. In South Africa, you have got almost 250,000 smallholder farmers. That's where our challenge is. How do you register them to ensure that you have got a database of these farmers? How do you ensure that when you have got systems that you want to introduce, you can aggregate them so that they can give you economies of scale in terms of how you would want to introduce insurance, how you introduce other services that are there within the space of agriculture. Without any doubt, if you have got to go to a household level, which is where we need to also go in terms of agriculture, because food systems, this is something that we keep on making a challenge to the world around. To say food systems are not only on the commercial side. You have got informal side that actually feeds most of the people that you do not count in a formal system, the economists would know them. So you need to also find that that digital space also is habited by people who you would not normally count on a formal basis. Now, a few things come to the fore when we have got to think, what do we want to do within the digital space? AI will give you what we would say where you have got data gaps, and you can be able to then project and make safe predictions for your policy space. Not so long ago in South Africa, I think 2 days ago, one of the big retailers in South Africa, ShopRite Checkers, gave out the report. You can go and read the report. It came out of an AI space to say, in a few years from now, South Africa would have a food security problem. Now, if you compare that with the food insecurity index that we have, there's two worlds, far apart. You have got to see how artificial intelligence now comes into the fore, and what do we do to deal with the data gaps that might exist between the two. So you still need a lot of human intervention just to come to the real space that you would want to have good policy space to address. All said, all done. The question that we need to ask ourselves, who will benefit from all this data that we have? Who will benefit from this data that we create, that a farmer would be able to input and say, I've got a pest on my farm. What kind of pest is this? Somebody springs from the quarantine services and says, this is a quarantine pest. Let's go in, let's report, let's do that. FAO gets the information, whoever gets the information. But the question is, who benefits? Who will benefit when indigenous knowledge comes into the fore? How do we go into a profit-sharing system that would ensure that those who input their data also benefit from the systems that we are putting in front of them? And I think, for me, that's the sensitivity that we have got to look at when we start entering this space. It's a good space. It affords agriculture to move quicker. It affords agriculture to be able to feed the 9.7 or 9.1, depending on which source you read from, in 2050, that we say the world will be there. It affords us to be able to provide food to those billion people, 9.7 billion people. But we have got to ask real questions, hard questions. We need to know, how is Africa, how are Africans going to benefit from this? How are developing countries going to benefit from this? So that we ensure that each and every person who participates gets the benefit from the systems. I'm sorry I couldn't listen to the other speakers, and therefore I might be very shallow in terms of the discussions that were here. But I think from where I'm sitting, I would understand the issues that are being discussed to say the digital space is ripe for everybody to benefit from. And therefore, if it is ripe for everybody to benefit from, there is no time for us to make excuses, but jump into them with a clear view of ensuring that the governance and the ethics of the digital space in agriculture are safely secured. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, because of the traffic jam, I was asked, to make the concluding remarks. But I don't know how did you make it, but you make it, in the sense you don't only make it for the room, but you also make it to provide the conclusive remarks. Because actually you have just said was not only enlightening, but was fairly representing what our friends have just made. Actually, what we have learned, and thank you very much, because your contribution, your closing remarks were critical, and I'm no one, to close after you. I will just make one little summary of what you have said with the contribution of all the speakers. Today we have learned that money is never an issue, even if we have World Bank that have plenty of money. But money is never an issue, providing that we have the substance, providing that we have technical partnership, public, private, and producer, providing that we have innovating strategies and solutions that can be adapted to cut the access to market for smallholders and make smallholders more and more part of this huge market, providing that we have bright farmers, or that we make farmers brighter to make sure to enjoy all this. So I think this was just an evening seminar in a wonderful location that has contributed to drive us to our Agenda 2030 ends and to push us towards a food system dimension that will make all of us part of this big system. Well, thank you very much to all of you for having attended these events. Thank you for all speakers. Thank you for Your Excellency, Robert, to have arrived as soon as you could. Thank you very much to our sister Jen for having hosted all of us. I propose that, of course, at the end, a big round of applause for all the people that accompany in this short but important and dense journey. But I propose that the questions that you may have, because I'm sure you will have a lot of questions, will be provided during the reception offered by the Ambassador of South Africa. Thank you very much and have a good evening.